numeral adjectives in English and French. Ordinal numeral adjectives in both English and French. Ordinal numbers indicate position or order. For example, you have heard about first, second, third. Now below is a comparison between English and French ordinal numbers, including their formation, pronunciation, and usage rules. Now what about the formation of ordinal numbers? We are going to see some comparisons here between English and French. In English, you say first. In French, it will not depend on the gender. When it's masculine, you say what? Premier. First. When it's masculine, it is what? Premier. Now, if it is feminine, what do you say? First becomes première. First. When it's feminine, it is première. Second. In French, either you use this one or this one. We pronounce it deuxième. Second, either you use this one or this one, it is deuxième. Second is deuxième. Third. Troisième. Fourth. Quatrième. Fifth. Cinquième. Sixth. Sixième. Seventh. Septième. Eighth. Huitième. Ninth. Neuvième. Tenth. Dixième. Eleventh. Onzième. Twentieth. Vingtième. 21st. 21st. 21ème. 100th. 100th. Centième. 1000th. 1000th. Millième. Now let's see some key rules in French versus English. Key rules in French versus English. Formation differences. In English, most ordinals, they add this at the end. For example, 4 becomes fourth. 4 becomes fourth. Then 10 becomes 10th. 10 becomes 10th. We have some few exceptions. For example, first. That's how they write it. First. You don't add this one. You don't first. It's another one. Second. Second. You don't add this. This is it. Second. Third. Third. Now what about French? In French, most ordinals add em. They add em to form the ordinal. For example, quatre, that is 4. Quatre will become quatrième. You see, you add the em, becomes quatrième. Now 10, that is 10, will become dixième. Add the em, dixième, that is 10th. 10th. This is 4th. Now there are some exceptions also. For example, you have premier. Premier, that is first. When you are dealing with the masculine. Premier, that is first in case of masculine. Now if it is feminine, that premier is première. Instead, première, that is first, becomes premier in case of feminine. Now what about abbreviations of these ordinals? You have first, second, third, fourth, etc. in English. Now in French, it will not depend on the gender. You have premier, as we said, for masculine, premier. Now if it is feminine, it is what? Première, première, première. Now this one now, deuxième, both are accepted. That is, if it's masculine or feminine, you just say deuxième. There is no change. Deuxième. The same also from deuxième. You have troisième, quatrième, etc. You just use this one. You will not change like in the case of premier or première. Now gender and plural agreement, that is in French only. That is where you are having those changes in genders. As we saw here, premier or première is only in French that you have that. You don't have that in English. Because you have premier for masculine, then you have première in case of feminine. For example, you have le premier jour. Le premier jour, which is the first day in English. Le premier jour, the first day. You have your ordinal here. This is it here. Le premier jour, the first day. Another one will be la première fois. La première fois, the first time. You see, since fois is feminine, that's why we have première. La première fois, the first time. Other ordinals, they add em and do not change except for plurals. For example, you have les 10e anniversaires. Les 10e anniversaires. The 10th birthdays. So you add the S when it's plural. Les 10e anniversaires, the 10th birthdays. In English, there is no change, but in French, when it's plural, you have to add the S at the end.